All right, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. This semester, there is a new ethics form. So there are 4 ethics forms that needs to be completed by the students, either human participation, which is 3 forms, or exemption form, which is there's only 1 form. So there are 3 forms. This is one set, the yellow one here, and another set, which is the blue one here. So most students, either they will complete 1, 2, 3, or only number 4. Okay. So if the students are dealing with human participation, then only then they will need to complete 1, 2, 3. If there is no human participation or minimal human participation, then they will complete only form number 4. Right? So supervisors needs to check either students are doing or need to complete 1, 2, 3, or form number 4. So I have given a briefing to all students regarding which form to fill up. So they should be able to justify which form have they filled up. If they are filling up, if they are doing only they are doing human participation. For example, they are testing a product on a new application or new system on school kids, on kindergarten kids, then they need to fill up form number 1, 2, 3. Or they are devising a new plan or new system or they're doing something relating to animals, then they need to fill up form number 1, 2, 3. Else, they only need to fill up form number 4. Okay, let's look at how these forms look like. So, form number 1. So, this is form number 1. Okay, this is a new form created in 2021, focusing on postgraduate and undergraduate students. All right, so this form is quite straightforward and only is applicable if students or postgraduate students are dealing with human participation. Okay, like I explained just now, if your student is doing a product or a system or anything that is for students, for example, students, kindergarten kids, OKU, blind kids, or mental disorder people, or anything regarding some human participation, then you need to fill up form number 1, 2, 3. Or there was a question yesterday, a student was doing a mobile apps for people in the gym, okay, for people who are exercising. So if the student wants to test that particular system, mobile app, with people actually working or exercising in the gym, that was public, or anyone work exercising, then you need to fill up, or student needs to fill up form number 1, 2, 3. Or if it's just a mere testing to make sure that the system is working, let's say the student gets his friend or anyone else to just test if the system is working, then he or she can only fill up form number 4, exemption. If the student wants to test the system and see how well it's working, what's the benefit out of it, then the student needs to fill up form 1, 2, 3. All right, so title, quite straightforward. Supervisor's name, and what is the student trying to do from this research, action, observation. So it could be observation because he wants to see how well the system is being utilized by any human, so it goes under observation. Or he wants to do a questionnaire, he wants to interview them to see that if the participants agree and like or dislike his system, so he can go for an interview or a questionnaire. But remember, if you take questionnaire, the student has to uh, also submit the questionnaire questions to the committee as well. Then part B, background, quite simple, straightforward, from the student's proposal, problem statement, and reference. I've already told the students at most maybe 4 of the most important reference. However, if there's more than 4, supervisors may request more than 4. It's okay, no problem. but let's just keep it to a maximum of maybe 10 most important references. Objective, straightforward from the proposal. What are the benefits? Let's say these benefits can increase people exercising, or is good for people exercising, or it helps students to learn better. So those are benefits. When is this questionnaire? When is this system going to be tested? Put on a date. Let's say it starts on next semester, March, April, May. Let's say you put down May 1st or 20th of May. Put a specific date, okay, and start date. Maybe the whole month is possible. And when is the initial data collection? Again, that is the start date expected. What else? Location, where you going to test the system, which state, which company, which department. Design and methodology. Okay, this is also straightforward from the students. Chapter 3, you don't have to ask the students to put the whole chapter 3 inside there. Maybe you can ask them to do it in the form of point form. First they do this, next they do this. Number 1, number 2, number 3 is also possible. I'm sure students know how to do methodology. Who are your human participants? Who are not your human participants? Also include this. Let's say human participants are people from B40, and not including T20, are people from suburbs, not the urban group, are people from rural schools, are not from the rural schools. So these are the inclusion criteria. How big? How big is your sample? 30 people, 40 people, 50 people, 60 people. If there is some sort of information, else just put not applicable. What is your research flow? Most research flow will start from preparing, and then data collection. What else? Data collection, data analysis, and then reporting. This is the normal flow. And for postgraduate students, if they would like to, they need to have statistical analysis, so you can put it here. Either using SPSS, they're finding out the correlation or coefficient, or so on and so forth. All right. So for undergraduate students, there is no statistical analysis, but maybe if you require, supervisors require, then you can ask the students just to put down a simple, a brief description of the data analysis and statistical software, which will be utilized. If there's grant, okay, if you're a FRGS holder and this project comes under your FRGS, this is where the information comes in. Student's name, supervisor's name, if there's a co-researcher, and the profile of the human, everything is here. Yes, no, yes, no. If yes, please explain. If, for example, participants are under 18, yes, okay, explain who are these people, how old are they? Okay, they're all 6, male, female. Give a full brief description of how old are these people, how many people are 6, how many people are 5, or maybe they are all, are they vulnerable, are they OKUs? So have a brief description here. Vulnerable group, okay, you can define it here. And all these questions can be filled out yes or no. And if yes, please provide additional details here. Okay, straightforward. And these are the checklists. Make sure you filled up this. Students have filled up application signature and supervisor signature with the appropriate date. Right. And once this is completed, students need to submit this form in a PDF format to a Google Drive, which I have provided to them. Okay, that is form number 1. Form number 2 is the participation information, meaning to say this information, this sheet will be given to participants in order to tell them what is this research all about. Again, since you're giving a person who has no background about research and who does not know anything about your research, students needs to write down a very simple or most simpler form of information, so that people who have no research background would understand what you are trying to do. All right. So research title filled up by students, introduction, very simple one, not a very lengthy one. That's why they only put 300 words here, 150. What's the process? Who are your participants? Okay, explanation, and you only fill up to here. All right. And the benefits, what would the participation get, also needs to be filled out. Any risk, anything involved. That means if you test your system, would you have any eyesight problem? Would there be any side effects on the medical side? So again, you have to put down here if there is any, because this information is vital for students testing on, let's say they're testing on a new product, a new medicine, a new medicine on humans. So they need to write down what is the risk if something happens, and confidentiality. Okay, this part is important, and the consent form. Okay, once although the students will only need to fill in this information and submit this to the ethics form. This part here will be given to the participant if they uh, understand what you are trying to say. Okay, so if they understand, they will sign off here. But that does not mean they will consent to your research. Okay, so a consent form is in number 3. Okay, this is the assent form. Assent form means they are willing, they have understood, which is in form 2. In form 3, now they are willing to participate. Again, you will have the project information here, simple written down, and why should they undergo this research, and what should they do should be written here, and what happens if anything happens to them should be written here. All right, and student's name or researcher's name, phone number, and some sort of questions if your human participant are kids, and you need to get uh, their signature or thumbprint, and maybe their guardian can also sign off here. Okay, here and a witness here. Okay, so these 3 forms, form 1, 2, and 3, is needed for human participation uh, research. And form number 4 is an exemption form whereby most students will fill this up. Straightforward information, everything is here. Design, justification, objective, significance, research, and explain. Okay, since it's not doing human, what is this research about? So students will know all this. Okay, if it's only merely content analysis, if your students are looking at Twitter's information, Instagram information, so this information will come into here. Explain in brief where applicable. If not, please put NA non-applicable. All columns must be filled up. If there's no answer for it, please ask your students, or please just fill in as non-applicable. Again, sign off here, and this section will be signed off by the UiTM Perak Ethics Committee. All right. So those are the 4 forms that needs to be filled up by students this semester. So what is the timeline? Timeline is students have been informed yesterday, 11th of January, and then students will give you back the forms. Students bagi forms to supervisors for checking next week between 17 to 18, and then you have about a week to check back and forth. I know that's why I just give a 1 week period. You have some time to discuss with them, or if you need them to fill in more, or if they they don't answer, they don't understand, or you can go back and forth. And by 24th of January, students will need to submit these forms in a PDF format to the Google link which I've provided to them. All right, they will know this inside in a PDF format. That is the most important thing. Please make sure supervisors sign all the forms which requires you to sign. And then from 25th onwards, my committee comprising of myself, Dr. Pradeep, Dr. Hafiz, and Dr. Fadli will go through this and look into all these forms, and we will propose for it to be taken to the ethics committee by UiTM. If there are any concerns, queries, we will direct it back to the supervisor for more information. And supervisors, please contact to your students to get them to fill out if there's any problems with the form. Once everything is done, so by 4th of February, everything should be fine, and by 10th of February, these forms will be submitted to the ethics committee in UiTM Perak for approval. All right. So these are the important dates that you need to know. Inshallah, by 17th to 18th of next week, your students will be submitting the ethics form to you. Please have a look at it. Please comment where necessary. If everything goes well, please sign off, and remember to tell the students to save it as a PDF form and then submit it back to the Google form which I've already created for them. And I also request students to submit their proposal as well, chapter 1 to 3, in the same Google file. Please remind them as well. So basically, there are two things they have to submit: the forms and their proposal. Okay, proposal can come later if it's not completed, but by the 24th of January, the forms needs to be all inside the Google folder which I've created. That means supervisor has signed off, student has signed off, supervisor has checked, and by the 24th of January, my committee will do the first checking of the forms. All right, thank you so much. I hope you all have a good day. And if you don't understand, please leave some comments below, or please contact me any failures. You know how to get in touch with me. All right. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.